Hi, Prof.
Yes. Yeah, how are you?
I'm okay. So
Sure.
we'll see if we're live. I tried, and I think that we are live. Um, yep. So how are you today?
I'm fine. It's here the weather has been a little mild, which is
Really?
which is a good thing. We didn't have. So I brought in the weather. Sometimes the weather dictates how one feels at a particular time. So I'm
Yeah.
doing okay.
Yeah. That's good. I swear, Prof. I think that we should change our time to another time because
Well,
it's Friday evening. Nobody
well,
wants to be here. Everybody's gone.
no, I mean,
But we'll try.
yeah, we'll
Yes.
try.
And how was the birthday? The birthday went well?
Yeah, I mean, you get to a certain age, and especially if you are a quiet, ordinary person, nothing matters a whole lot. Once you have life and you chat with one or two friends, that's it. You have uh, some dry bread to eat.
Yes.
So life is it. So
Yes.
thank God. Yeah, that's
God,
right.
yeah.
hmm I hadn't seen a friend for 20 plus years, and I was able to see that person on Facebook sending me best wishes. I said, "Wow, I thought this person was gone."
That's good. That's good,
Yeah,
Prof.
yeah,
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So we thank you guys for joining us today. Prof had his birthday July 27th.
yeah.
So we say happy birthday, Prof.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think today is important that we talk about national orations. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, why should we celebrate 26?
hmm
Nothing has happened. Things are not good in the country,
hmm
and I wrote that it's possible to have a bad year and have a good life.
Yes.
We have to recognize and celebrate where Liberia has come from, and yeah.
Yeah. One of those we supposed to touch on today, I thought gave a blueprint
Yes. Yes.
of what it means to celebrate a national day.
Yeah.
The idea first is to thank God for what things have been,
Yeah.
and the second is to review, do a concise inventory of what has transpired,
Yeah.
and then the third thing is to, in a sense, ask ourselves, how can we improve upon what has passed, and how can we sustain that which does not need improvement but needs sustenance?
Yeah.
So I think the three-part uh, framework of of celebrating an anniversary, especially a national thing, even as an individual, you probably, being a human being, might repeat certain weaknesses and what have you, but at least when you recognize the toll of age, then you think you had better gotten serious to doing certain things, especially those that a kind of serve society. You need to continue doing that until you draw your breath, the last breath.
So today we chose three different Independence Day orations.
Yeah.
We chose Garrison W. Gibson
Mm.
Jr. His
Mm.
father was president, and we chose Ditwe.
Mm.
And there are not a lot of women, but there's Maud Morris,
Yeah, Mon
who
Morris.
actually her oration was actually really good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed her oration.
In fact, that's the oration at the beginning of which she implicitly lays out the framework of what one should expect
Yeah.
within the context of an celebrating an anniversary, the Independence Day.
Yeah. And you see that most of the orations, they do follow a pattern. They thank God
Yeah,
for what has been.
yeah,
They look at where Liberia has come from.
yeah,
They celebrate the present,
yeah,
and then they look to the future.
yeah.
Yeah. So looking to the future, they all have blueprints. I was astounded by the fact that a lot of these things that we are discussing today,
Hmm.
it's not new.
No.
It's not new at all. And we
Mhm.
will see as we go through the
Yeah,
slides that
yeah.
these people grapple with the same things,
Yes,
you
and
know, even the
that's
shortage of rice.
and even sanitation, especially in Monrovia,
Yes,
you
yes. So
know,
they did not I mean, all of these things that we are talking about now,
mm,
they're not new.
that's what the good book says. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Then they
Yep.
say, Amen.
Amen. Yeah. One of the because I can't really see,
Mm,
um I guess one of the okay, yeah, that's is number 7. Okay. So Garrison W. Gibson,
yeah.
right? You
Mm.
know how we see Garrison W. Gibson,
Yeah, G.W.
Arthur
Gibson.
Barclay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So Garrison W. Gibson, he I think it's I think if we're going to talk about the people, we must at least introduce them.
Yeah.
They
Go
say
ahead.
he was a former secretary of public instruction, which is now the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
It was called the public instruction.
Yeah. That's what
And
it
then he
was.
was rector of the Trinity Episcopal Church of Liberia, now called Trinity Cathedral.
Yeah.
He was also a member of the Liberia Centennial Commission,
Yeah.
appointed by
Okay.
former President Tubman to
Hmm.
organize, develop, and promote
Yeah.
the Centennial and Victory Exposition in celebration of Liberia's 100th Independence Day anniversary.
Wow.
100. His father, Garrison W. Gibson Sr., was president of Liberia
Yeah.
from December 1900 to January 4th, 1904.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so,
The father even taught moral philosophy
oh, okay, yeah.
at Liberia College.
So Garrison W. Gibson Jr.
Hmm.
answers the question, because a lot of the things I read during the Independence Day, this present day, was, why do we even have to celebrate it? Why do
Yeah.
we even have to declare that there was an independence?
Yeah.
Liberia was never colonized. So
Hmm.
so so Garrison Gibson, in his oration, he answers these questions. And the funny thing is, so these questions must have come out before,
Yeah.
you know. So your Liberian people, there's nothing new under the sun, you know. So Prof and I were talking about patterns, that in history there are patterns that you see, you know. And when you are when a country is confronted with that same thing, they go back and say, what did we do then?
Yeah.
It's like humans, you know. Humans say, oh, this thing happened to me before, what did I do? So history is a series of patterns, right?
Yeah.
And the quote that we had was a quote from Chuck Palahniuk, and I'm quoting him now. He says, there are only patterns, patterns on top of patterns, patterns that affect other patterns, patterns hidden by patterns, patterns within patterns. If you watch closely, history does nothing but repeat itself. What we call chaos is just patterns we haven't recognized. So yes, Garrison W. Gibson Jr. talking about this on the 100th anniversary. He's talking about the Declaration of Independence, and he's talking about the Independence Day. And so I we have this. So for him, July 26th is a day worthy to be classed as one of the wonders of the world, bro.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm quoting him now. He says, and why do you ask? Because the world never expected to see such an undertaking by men of the Negro race. The most sanguine of the admirers of the colonists never dreamed that this little colony of freed Negroes who had found an asylum on the west coast of Africa, asylum from wrong, oppression, and injustice, would have dared to make the announcements that they did on that memorable day, that day so sacred to us, their sons, a day that will live as long as a Negro lives in the world.
Yeah.
So, Prof, this is one
Yeah.
of the wonders of the world, he says.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that is why uh, when you are looking at the features of a country, you look at the national songs of that country,
Yes,
especially the anthem,
yes,
and the the anthem becomes a sort of macrocosm of the soul of the country. So when you talk about benighted race,
yes. That's what I almost said a race benighted.
yeah, yes, yes,
That
yes,
phrase,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. Uh-huh. So I think one or two people had a quarrel with the phrase. Uh, the word benighted is not for the present.
Yes,
The word when you see it as a present statement or condition, then you miss the point. That anthem is a generation that kind of stirred us into being. So when we sing the freedom of a race benighted, see, we sing the praise of a race benighted. It is saying this is a country that's comprised of people who other people did not believe could exist.
could exist. Yes,
You see, so it is it is that understanding you will bring to it. So you cannot, if you destroy that part, then definitely you are destroying the history of our what evolution.
yes, yes. And caressing W. Gibson, we talked about Joseph Jenkins Roberts'
Yes,
a speech to the legislature,
yes,
the first speech, and how it was so reflective.
yes.
He thought
Hmm.
about what he wanted to say,
Yes,
and he laid the blueprint
yes,
out, and he said, look, this thing that we have, this country, this is like a jewel that we need to hold,
yes,
because there are many people looking at us and saying, if we fail, they will say, we told you the black people couldn't do anything.
yes,
So he was very thoughtful. And caressing W. Gibson also, a lot of times, and I think one time I even wrote something to with my daughter about, if Liberia is not colonized, why should it be declared its independence? But caressing W. Gibson explains
yeah,
why. He explains why it was necessary, and that's the next slide. He says, and I would add everybody to read it with me. He said, okay, this was the. He said there was a contest on between the nationals of one of the most powerful government in the world and the authorities of the colony to collect duties on goods coming into the colony and for trading along the coast.
yeah,
The matter passed through the courts of the colony.
mhm,
The colony won the case instead of on. The colony won the case. The citizens of that foreign government
yeah,
was dissatisfied
hmm,
and appealed to the government.
yes,
And that government made certain demands.
yes,
The colonists considered these demands fair, but unfair and unreasonable. The
yes,
question was open again. And the question was, were the colonists entitled to the right to enforce the payment of duties,
yes,
licenses, and taxes by persons trading in the colony? The
yes,
foreign government wanted to know this. What the status of your colony?
yes,
Is it a protectorate of the government of the United States, or
yes,
is it a sovereign state?
yeah,
That is what Garrison W. Gibson was explaining.
Mm-hmm.
That Liberia tried to collect taxes. The foreign government, I'm sure it was Britain.
Yes. So who are you?
Who are you? Eh? You can't
Mm-hmm.
collect taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Liberia. Liberia said, but what do
Mm-hmm.
you mean? We can't collect taxes. Say no, you can't collect taxes. So then they asked Liberia, but who are you?
Yeah.
Eh? Are you a sovereign state
Mm-hmm.
or are you a protectorate of the United States?
It's an international law question.
Yeah.
It's an international law question.
You see, and then it goes even further. I'm reading from his speech. It says they told him to take it up with the United States.
Yeah.
The United States being appealed to. So our country, before declaring its independence, appealed to the United States. But the United States could not see her way clear to accept responsibility for the
Ah.
colony, right? Therefore, being precluded by the view taken of the Monroe Doctrine, is it you on your own, right? So the colonists appealed to the Colonization Society, was again appealed to, and it declared, this is the ACS, it declared that it was not in a position to recommend, but one thing that was to the effect that the colonists assume and declare themselves a sovereign people, free and independent. And there was left to no alternative but to accede to these suggestions. And they
That's it.
said Liberia is an asylum for the most grinding oppression. So that is the reason Liberia declared its independence.
Yeah.
It needed to collect taxes.
Mm-hmm.
It needed to regulate the trade along its borders.
Yeah.
And I guess basically maybe the colonists just thought they would be under the protection of the
Yeah.
American Colonization Society.
Yeah.
American Colonization Society said, my man, you on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, prof.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You on your own.
Yeah.
America said, we're not taking up this thing. We don't want you as a colony.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing was to declare your independence.
Yes.
So when people are asking why Liberia declare independence, here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. To be a free, sovereign country, to be able to collect its own
Yeah.
taxes. Yeah.
And yes, and again, without the need to repeat one thing over and over, uh, the substance
Yes.
of history
Yes.
is set within that speech, especially the core part that was so beautifully quoted.
Yeah.
The idea that if you want to understand a current vexing question of
Yes.
national importance, you've got to go to a number of sources.
Yes.
You probably want to go to the diaries of the founding generation. If you don't go to the diaries of important and journals of the important people at the time, you want to go to key speeches.
Yes.
As we did, for instance, in the case of J.J. Roberts, the founding president. Or you want to go to the Constitution,
Yes.
beginning with the preamble. Beginning with the preamble. But again, it is important to look at the diaries, the journals, as well as the key speeches, such as the independence, the first set of Independence Day speeches and what have you. These documents have the capacity to explain certain things, and that's where you kind of get your signal to see how you kind of chart your course
Yeah.
through the rest of the time.
Because it was like, my man, what are you?
Yes.
Yes. What are you?
What are
What
you?
is your name?
What is your name? Identity.
Yes. What is your name?
Identity. Yes.
You know?
What is your journey? Where did it begin? Yes.
Yeah. So I posted it in the chat because I feel like when people are disputing, oh, why Liberia has to declare so and so,
Mhm.
I mean, we as Liberians should know our history. To say this is the reason.
And this is the reason.
America didn't want to protect Liberia. America
Mhm.
say, we're not ready to take you up.
Yeah,
ACS say,
yeah,
we're not coming.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, is the reason we will declare our independence.
yeah. Mhm.
And Garrison Gibson says that was the wonders of the world,
Yeah.
because people didn't believe
Mhm.
that black. So Garrison Gibson, he's talking about this wonderful day,
Mhm.
and he's talking about why it was declared.
Yeah,
But he himself has blueprints, just like everybody. He
yeah.
has blueprints too. He said, "My man, yes, something that the country should be."
Which
There's no
is a
problem.
definition
Yes,
defining.
yeah. So, Mhm.
Talking about wonders. There is a poem by Countee Cullen,
Uh-huh.
a Black American poet, and I think anyone who has time can read the poem titled. It's a sonnet, and it's called "Yet Do I Marvel." Yet do I marvel. The substance of the poem is the speaker shocked by the fact that there is a generous God who made it possible, who invested him with the qualities necessary to write in a genre of literature, uh, a genre that is at the top of all the genres of literature, so difficult to compose, and yet he had the generosity, that God had the generosity to make a poet black and make him sing. That constituted the marvel. Yet do I marvel of this
Yeah.
curious thing
And,
that
and and
God would make a poet black and make him sing. Yes.
no. I mean, I'm listening. I was just saying, Prof, that you know, I think that people forget the place that Liberia had in Africa
Yeah.
and in the world. They forget the place that the University of Liberia
Yeah.
held as one of the premier
Yeah.
institutions that taught Latin and
Yeah.
Greek
Yes.
and the classics.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean,
Philosophy. Yeah.
people forget, and I think that if we forget, we will be satisfied with so little.
Yeah.
And I think that and we always say at the end of this show, lift Liberia
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And people always say, why do you guys keep saying that?
Mm.
And I say, look at where Liberia has
Yeah.
come from.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go on to caressing W. Gibson, because caressing is not finished. you know,
Yes.
you know he talked about why. Now he comes to his this guy is funny. He said, what is the vision?
Yeah.
What do we see to be the aims and purposes of those who are administering the affairs of state?
Mm-hmm.
We see a Liberia consisting of three elemental forces drawn from the sons of the early settlers, the sons of the aboriginal inhabitants of the country, and our brethren from the United States of America, the West Indies, and from the West African colonies, who are willing to come and cast their lot with us and become thoroughly Liberian in thought, sentiment, speech, and action.
Mm.
Okay, let's go that one first.
It is the Pan Africanist sentiments
Yes,
that he lays out over there,
yes,
especially when it comes to the third part of wanting to discuss the vision. Yeah,
yeah.
from
So,
the West Indies
yeah.
and all these places here to come. Yes,
No, so it's an inclusion. This
yes, it's
Liberia
an
that
inclusion,
we are
and that is
making.
what
Yeah,
basically that's what Pan Africanism means, which
yeah,
is that wherever you are, I think there was, I don't know whether it's Alpha Blondy or some other person who has talked about wherever you're from, you are an African. What have you?
As
I
long
want.
as you're a black man,
Yeah,
you're
yes,
an
yes, yeah,
African.
yes, 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 yes. Yeah. It might not be Alpha Blondy, but actually
Yeah,
that song helps to a kind of define the sense of Africanism and Pan Africanism.
yeah,
You have left from, you have been forcefully taken from the continent, but there are certain things that express the soul of the African.
yeah,
And once you can interpret that or understand that, then definitely you are an African. And that is what Gibson lays out when he talks about people coming from the West Indies and all those places and wanting to cast lot with
that's a
those
lot.
who
Yeah,
came from the United States of America.
to be Liberian in thought, speech,
Yes,
everything.
action and what
Yeah.
have you.
So then he goes on to say, because the people were saying that, Liberians now, they are not encouraging other Africans or other people from the world around the world to come.
Yeah.
And he has an answer for that. I thought, Prof, that you would like you would.
Yes.
So he's saying, no, that's not true. He said that's not true.
Yeah.
We are encouraging people. Now
Yeah.
listen to this part, Prof. He
Uh-huh.
says, in truth, the immigrant has more consideration given him than the son of the soil.
Uh-huh.
Here is one instance. Every male immigrant that comes here has 10 acres of land given him by the government.
Ah.
The land is surveyed at the expense of the government, and
Uh-huh.
all he has to do is to go to the location and build.
Uh-huh.
And in many cases, the government sends him to the spot.
Yeah.
But in the case of one born here, no land is given him. All the land he can own is what he inherits or buys.
Ah.
So, Prof, let's come to this land business.
Sure.
Garrison Gibson says that we people who born in Liberia, they have to
Yeah.
inherit the land or buy
Yeah.
land.
Uh-huh.
But the immigrant gets 10 acres. But what I don't understand, but the people who came from Barbados, they got 25 acres.
Well, probably the individual is the focus in that train of thought that he has.
Okay, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. He
Because
just wasn't
the
going.
family will get 25,
Yeah, yeah. 25. Yes.
and then you could buy land at 50 cents per acre.
Uh,
So you see, so there's issue of land, prof.
it's the issue of land. One sometimes people are talking when it gets hard, then they say that's the elephant in the room. Let's leave it. Because
Yeah,
if we don't leave it, then nothing as good is going to, that's what I see in that particular comment that he's making.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
thank goodness, yeah, every now and then something a kind of springs up that subject. Yet thank God that somehow it is the tension is tenderized, because if the tension is not tenderized, then very terrible things will happen. It's just
yes,
that what we do, as we've said here one or two times, is simply to make people aware what the acquisition of land, the
yes,
processes of acquiring land have been, the processes have been very messy.
yes,
And if we stuck to it, it will be a serious problem and what have you. I guess it's along the line when the issue of boundaries in Africa, the issue of boundaries, uh, when that issue comes up, then the leaders of Africa have the wise judgment to say, well, let boundaries, especially those set by colonial forces, let let such boundaries be tolerated. Yeah, tolerated. That's all it is. Tolerated, so that no significant and destructive of destructive uh, contestation does not come about in the world or in Africa, just to be more specific. So land issue is often a tinderbox
yeah, Yeah. And then one of the prevailing theme that we will see as we go on to the next speaker is education.
Yeah.
He at the end he said my work is done, but he says, and I'm quoting, he said, not this naturally turns our thoughts towards that which will elevate a people in a high quality, and that is education. The schools where the young idea is taught to shoot must be one of the greatest cares of the state. When our people become educated with their mentality more highly developed, they will then be in a position to think better and to distinguish between things that differ, to approve things that are excellent,
Mhm.
and less inclined to follow every stormy wind that blows. So then, of course, and then he starts, he ends with, let us then be up and doing with a
Yeah,
mind
with
to
us.
build our state. So Garrison Gibson, he lays out the whys and wherefores
Mhm.
that this declaration, and that was 1927.
Yeah.
So he said, let me tell you why we declare our independence. Let me tell you why it's one of the wonders, and let me tell you our vision for this country. you know so now we move to our own detour,
Mm.
right, Prof?
Okay. Go
That
ahead. But again, I know we will not stop talking about the power of education
hmm
when we leap onto the work of Maud Morris.
yeah, we come to education because she's a
Yeah.
teacher. She's a
Yes.
teacher. Yeah.
Talking about how, for instance, China and Japan.
Yes.
Yes. What education did for them.
For them. Yes.
And
Yes.
the other day I was listening to uh, something regarding Brazil, and they were talking about a few of the uh, Central American countries, and then even the Asian countries. And the the narrator, uh, one of the panelists, of course, I should say, uh, did not mince words in talking about the power that education has in all its ramifications,
Yes.
both formal and informal, uh, uh, professional and technocrats, how bonding together, having acquired the appropriate knowledge and skills to advance the course of each of these countries.
Yeah.
So I guess we will come back to it every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we move on to detour, we can look at some of the comments.
Hmm.
Uh, 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 um, Leroy Whaley said, happy birthday, Prof.
Well, thank you, Leroy.
And Eugenia is watching. Good evening,
Yeah.
Eugenia.
Hi, Eugenia.
And Darius Crafty said, good evening to the family of Focus on Liberia. How are you guys doing? How are you?
Hi.
It's cool evening. My name is Darius. I love Liberia. I live in Lagos. I
Okay.
just want to thank you guys so much for making me hear good news and what is going on in my country. May God bless you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay safe, Darius. Jenkins said, hello, I'm following from Liberia. Oh,
Oh,
Jenkins.
Jenkins, how are you?
Matthew, good evening. I'm following from Mount Barclay.
Oh,
Oh,
how about that? Well,
to be
just
precise, the
on the
car wash
outskirts.
community. Matthew,
Car wash,
yay.
our communities, car wash community.
Yeah, Cecilia said at least the better topic today than protesting topics. Independence Day, you go tell president to fix the country. Now he's laying in blood. Now they need justice. Y'all will get justice, but one more protest. Okay, so that's her
Yeah.
view. And then we have Stanley. Stanley say one he's watching, and Emetha Flomo say, what kind of education? Because the European American educational system that has been given to us has resulted into massive confusion and
Mhm.
misunderstanding on the continent of Africa.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we can't go back. We have to move ahead. Ambassador
Mhm.
Lawrence, I'm watching from Banga City.
Hi,
Wow.
Blanca.
Okay. So let's move on. Oh, my cat is talking. Then you can hear.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's move on to Detour.
Yeah. Well,
My cat. Can you hear her, Prof?
uh, well, please.
Okay, yes, Detour.
Uh-huh.
So D12 says government. Okay, so D12 was 1944. That
Yeah.
was his oration, and he wrote about the future of Africa. But let's read. We have to introduce D12 first, Prof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, D12 was born in Monrovia, of Kru parentage.
Yes.
Following his early educational tutelage, he furthered his education at the Patsy Barclay Private School in Monrovia,
Yeah.
in Swakoko. Then he went to USA Cushing Academy in Massachusetts. He held several positions in government, including district commissioner and member of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
He also served at the Anglo-Liberian Boundary Commission.
Yeah.
He died in 1961.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, his Independence Day, the first one, he says governments and society are controlled not only by laws but mainly by public opinion.
Hmm.
When public opinion comes, therefore, of the sum up the record of each administration's success is not gauged by exceptions, nor by the rise of revenue. For every rise in the revenue increases the burden of the consumer,
Yeah.
nor by the erection of costly buildings, but rather by the results of its policies on the spirits of men.
Yeah.
Whether or not under its influence the people have advanced in industry, in knowledge, in wealth, or whether they have hopelessly declined in courage and manliness, whose qualities, which I didn't see. Okay, let's move, Jimmy. Which are necessary and requisite to produce a vigorous nation.
Yeah.
So he's saying that all of these things here, you are controlled by public opinion,
Yeah.
because even though you're increasing revenue and you're building buildings, all of these, they're nothing compared to the results of its policies on the
Yeah.
spirits of
Yeah.
men.
Hmm.
Whether or not under its influence the people have advanced in industry, in knowledge, and in wealth.
Yeah.
But Prof, actually, it's very funny because D12, I mean, I thought he was a philosophical person, but this speech is mostly capitalism.
Yeah. Of course. And it's sometimes too some of these speeches respond to the moments in time,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's possibly what caught his attention, and he used to, yeah, his if you are uh, focusing on matters of economics, it should not be surprising that there's often a mixture of economics and philosophy, because philosophy basically deals with the rightness and wrongness of actions, and sometimes there is the need for explaining a moral code of a society, or sometimes there is the need to explain the contextual essence of the livelihoods of people. And that is where, for instance, economics comes into the picture.
Yeah, because even in his speech, he talked about the fact that, Liberia needs to have foreign capital, but not just from one country.
Uh-huh.
Liberia needs to open up. I think it's
Yeah.
the next one. If I'm not mistaken, I think
Yeah.
I can add to the stream.
Hmm.
Say,
No
okay,
nation.
so just like Garrison W. Gibson,
Yeah.
D12 has his own vision for Liberia, his own
Hmm.
roadmap,
Yeah.
right? So he says, no, I'm quoting now. He said, no nation has ever been able to establish and maintain a strong government with a poor, ignorant population.
Uh-huh.
Much of our progress in the future will depend upon the rapidity with which we mass educate our children,
Yes.
right?
That you go ahead, but that rapidity of ensuring mass education is very much important.
Yeah.
When Cuba the what is it what is this guy named? I'm forgetting
Fidel
already.
Castro.
Fidel Castro. Sorry about that. When Fidel and his group came in with Che Guevara and all those people there, what as if they did thorough planning. One of the key things they did was to mass educate the people,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that by the time they got to a certain point in the regime, so many people were able to read and write. And then it stepped up, and that's where you had the fact that it got to a point where the government was a kind of even exporting medical doctors and all those things there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes,
Exporting
mass
him.
education.
And that's, yeah, and I mean, we'll come to Amelia, because that's what she also said. Education is important.
Yes,
So the
education,
second one,
education. Yes,
the second one, he said, I'm thoroughly convinced that a well-organized compulsory agriculture scheme
yeah,
is exactly similar to compulsory education,
uh-huh,
which policy has been adopted by all advanced governments.
uh-huh.
But at all events, the compulsory agriculture policy must be a revolution by consent and not by force.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. So what do you think about that?
Yes, it it is important that he added the element of voluntary type of thing. But even in creating the voluntary nature of the scheme, one has to a kind of contextualize it within the point of full understanding of the why we want to do this. Why do we have to do that? All those questions need to be explained to bring people on board,
Yeah.
because what is done voluntarily is likely to be uh, well done. Not only that, but to be sustained. And those things not being present, there's got to be a problem. So people need to know, why do we need this? Why do we need this? Maybe you need to talk about the current as well as the future importance of whatever action or activity you want to engage in. It will have an enduring effect before probably you come in. The same that has to be true within the context, for instance, of even health, sanitation, and all these things. You don't get up one day and say, "Let's do a cleanup." After we do the cleanup and what have you, no, nothing else happens. That thing has to be laid out in such a way that if people do not engage in it, it becomes a staring need to do whatever has to be done. Again, because these speakers kind of overlap and what have you, I'm thinking about Morris when she talks about the role of women.
Yeah.
They adorn the home, they adorn the community and what have you. They must take the mantle of wanting to keep the city clean, wanting to keep the communities and all those things clean. So when it comes to coming back to Detour, when he talks about the setting up the agricultural scheme, not by the force of militancy, but by the force of what of volition, then one understands why he is taking up the matter in that way.
Yeah, but and he even like the other orator, he talks about, he said, in spite of China's struggle to survive under the heel of the conqueror, her mass education program is turning out 1 million students annually out of high
Uh-huh.
schools. And listen to this. This report from backward China should be an inspiration to us. China is not backward anymore.
No, yeah, okay. Again, this is what I'm talking about when you talk about understanding a particular phrase or understanding an idea within its context. At that time,
Yes.
China was backward,
Yeah,
and
1944.
yes, and now that's why China made sure to close its doors or close her doors, if we want to personify China, close her doors until something meaningful was coming out before she opened her doors to America and a few other countries.
Yeah. I mean, I laughed when I was reading, because he says, I'm quoting him now,
Yeah.
the greatest question in the country today is, What is the basic cause for the shortage of rice?
Ah,
Prof.
what is the basic? Yes. Uh,
1944,
uh-huh,
we're talking about shortage of rice.
talking about that. Now, that question he posed reminds me of uh, Pedagogy of the Oppressed by
Yes,
Paulo Freire, you
yes,
know, where he talks about we have to understand when we are educating people, we've got to make these people understand in whatever basic language, we've got to make these people understand the importance of what is being taught. And once the need is established, people will be easily brought along to be able to learn to master the particular activity or the particular skill and move on with it. And that is, I see it coming out in what Twe pointed out in that question.
this will say we don't have enough people. The census were not correct. That's why the people can't go on a farm, because we don't have enough people.
Uh-huh.
So he says, and then we come to the capitalism part. He says we
Yes.
cannot escape the inevitable invasion of raw materials.
Yes.
This is the war that Liberia must prepare herself to face,
Yeah.
right? And then he talks about the three classes of people,
Yes.
right, who are concerned in the development of any country: the native man, the capital, and
Uh-huh.
the government. And
Uh-huh.
when he talk about native man, he talking about every man. It's not
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
indigenous.
It's not using
Yeah,
it in the
yeah.
reference.
You
Yes,
must
that's
have
right.
you must have the person must be there. There must be money,
Hmm.
and then the government must make these enabling conditions,
Yes.
and the people
Yeah.
can yeah,
There are three things in a capitalist structure:
yeah,
land, labor, and what and capital. Yeah.
yeah,
Land, labor, and capital. Yeah.
yeah. So I was surprised when I read it. I said, "Oh, I thought this man was I thought he was a philosopher."
Yeah. Well. Yeah. And you cannot again you cannot be an activist, a social change activist, and not tap yourself into a number of those things.
Yeah,
I remember that in the heyday of the social change campaign in Liberia in the 70s, uh, one of the things that the prime movers of that social change campaign did was to often organize uh, what you call book study groups. And it wasn't just studying any kind of book, but studying the classics for the
yes,
time.
yes,
One of the books I was talking about uh, by Paulo Freire, the uh, Pedagogy of the Oppressed and what have you. So those papers, those books and what have you, kind of educated the foot soldiers of the struggle,
yeah.
and we cannot and must not lose sight of the organizing mechanisms of the time.
Okay. So
And
so
that brings in this thing about how can an economist or how can a philosopher tap into understanding, of course, those forces that will help us understand the policy framework of things here and there had to be a kind of understood and propagated.
and then I mean the last slide we have for him is this one. He says Liberia's democracy is in jail.
Yeah.
He said we have placed all sort of barriers around the country to shut our capital and foreigners. In this way, we have imprisoned ourselves within. We can no longer afford to keep this country forever closed to foreign capital.
Mm,
Liberia must be developed.
mm,
It is impossible for us to advance to mass education and adequately feed our population without developing the country.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
So
it is said that that speech of his and another speech um, uh, were uh, a benefit to the Tubman got, because we're talking about 44, right?
yeah,
Uh-huh. And it was at the end of 44 that Tubman was inaugurated. I mean, at the end of 43, that was when at the beginning January 44. That was when
Yeah.
Tubman was inaugurated, and he never lost to anybody until he finished.
But he praised Tubman.
Yes, before the
Yeah.
fire came.
Yeah. He said, look, the problems that people are having now, Tubman now they want to blame for it.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You- so he
But
praised Tubman.
but 1951, when the clash came and what have you, there will be a change of what there was going to be a change of uh, temperament and other kind of thing. Everything went upside down between him and Tubman.
Yeah. So now we come to one of my favorite ones, which is the speech for 1935.
Uh-huh.
So 1935, let me see if I can. 1935, we have Mrs. Maud Amelia Morris, one of the very few women
Yeah,
who gave an oration.
yeah. At the
She,
time,
she was born in New Orleans. She came to Liberia,
yeah,
but she accompanied her father, who was United States Consul and Minister to Liberia.
yeah,
Then she married Honorable John Lewis Morris, who was Secretary of the Department of Interior.
yeah,
She taught at West Africa, so she was a teacher.
yeah. She
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 played
had
a major role
yeah.
in the establishment of one of the largest Liberian-owned rubber farms in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm.
She had 4 children. She died in 1961, I guess, like the
Yeah.
same year as Ditwe.
Detour,
Yeah,
yes, that's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Now, this woman, I really like this woman
Uh,
because when she started, she's like, "Hey, you guys, you been in a thing for long.
yeah,
Women hasn't done anything." She
yeah,
says, she
yeah,
says, yeah. She says, so let's look at one of her. She says, in every civilized country of the world, there is some day set apart which marks the beginning of its existence as a distinct nation.
yeah.
On such days, the people thank the great arbiter for his beneficence
Uh-huh.
towards them, review the deeds of their forefathers, and
Yeah,
ponder upon what they can do towards producing better homes,
yeah,
more progressive communities, and a more perfect state. Exactly
yeah,
what we said. That's
yeah,
the blueprint.
yeah. That's the blueprint.
Yeah. And she said, one of my pupils, who, when asked, what is the chief industry of Liberia,
Yes.
replied, the chief industry of Liberia is politics.
And when I got to that part, I just had to laugh. Yeah,
That's
and
1935.
yes, and she, in a sense, then said that if you there is a saying in rural Liberia, which is when you get to a village or you get to a town and you hear the children singing, better tune into the songs, because those are the songs that are what that are having their rounds in the village or having their rounds in the town. So there we see a child asked,
Yeah.
what is the chief industry in Liberia? Everything is politics. And
Politics. It
therefore,
hasn't changed.
therefore, the child answers about politics being the chief industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Frederick Starr
Mm-hmm.
wrote in 1913, and if you read that book, you were not shocked, but you are so sadly surprised that what we talk about corruption, what we talk about most people wanting to get in government, uh, it didn't just start.
No, no.
It started long ago,
Long ago. Yeah.
where people see uh, the government as a feeding place, a trout, he calls it, a feeding place where people can go and down their mouths to drink from and what have you, whether they have a significant role to play in the service of the public, like we say locally, they now want to know. They just want to have a piece of the action to carry the name government on their heads and do whatever it is to eke out something from the elephant meat that is government or something of that sort. So there you have it, what you were saying about Morris, especially talking about politics and why people run to politics as not even the last resort, but the first resort
Yeah.
of survival.
And she's very progressive. She says, for the past 88 years of the life of this republic, the men have directed the affairs of state, and it's quite probable that they will keep this privilege unto themselves for the next 8 years. That's a
Yeah,
typo. But in the last decade, changing cultures and changing civilizations have made the world anew.
yeah,
The overthrow of kings and dynasties, men and women alike are demanding the why of policies adopted by their governments
yes,
in order that the safety and security of their children's future may be assured.
yeah,
So you men, it's not just your time. We also, as mothers,
yes,
as parents,
hmm,
we want the safety and security of our children.
yeah,
So we all have to work together
yeah.
for that. Yeah. Yeah. So
She,
so so yeah, I
yes,
thought that was a good one.
uh-huh. She talks about, uh, she lays out some policy ideas.
But Prof, there's one quote that she
Yeah,
gave.
mhm.
When I read that quote, I was like, "Oh my
My
God!" And
God.
I want to put it so
Yeah.
we can discuss it.
Mhm.
Here it is. Few of our men seem to realize
Mhm.
that education touching the literary profession and manual vocations as well is a dangerous thing unless it is thorough.
Yeah.
The wrong construction of a foundation,
Hmm.
the poor choice of material for the outside of a building
Yeah.
may each render the building unfit for
Yeah.
service in a short time.
Yeah.
The misuse of a word
Yeah.
may disrupt a family,
Yeah.
while incorrect interpretation of a clause may
Yeah.
wreck a nation.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know, this quote uh, is preceded. This quote is preceded by the quote that has to do with thorough training.
A little learning is a dangerous thing, Prof.
Yes, Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope. Uh, drink deep or taste not of the Perian stream.
Yes.
you know, so uh, she decries the the kind of inadequate training that some people by choice go through and then skip, and they think by the little learning they can insist upon they can insist upon uh, jobs and entitlements,
Yes.
which actually they do not deserve, but yet they want to force uh, the public or government to offer them, or employing institutions to offer them. She makes another point where she quotes Pinker.
Yes.
Yes, and what I see in that is she talks about the dependability, the dependability of an employer on the employee is so significant to the progress of that institution and the progress of the country. So the whole idea is learn, learn, and learn, get educated, and get educated. It is through that you will make a lasting impression not only on the employer, but on the environment within which you exist. In other words, If you don't have proper training, if you are not well educated, you will not be able to serve a system. You will not be able to serve the country, and in the end, you are a you are someone who will kind of uh, impair the growth of the institution, impair the growth of the country, and what have you.
The thing that made me laugh about her speech was that she talked a lot about how women should keep their home clean,
Yeah,
for the husband to bring their friends,
yeah,
for your children to bring their boyfriend and their
yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah.
Women should keep the city clean.
It's
And
it's a
no, 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 no,
sanitation
no. What I'm
element.
saying is that in the beginning, you were saying that, okay, kings and dynasties have been overthrown.
Yeah,
Men and women need to work together.
yeah.
But then why assign women, only women,
Mhm.
that domain of the home?
Mhm.
I mean, she talked a lot about that.
Yeah,
You know?
I know the feminist class will have a problem with that. But again, one should not uh, ignore contextualization. One should not ignore contextualization. Uh, at the period, of course, before 1935, there were people who were making much of the feminist factor. But of course, we saw that it had to be some 30 more years, like 65, and what have you, that women's liberation, civil rights, and all those things, especially in America, became a very strong force. But at her time, uh, the uh, the influence of men was still strong, and so talking about which role, it was more like the division of labor. You
Yeah.
know, it was more like talking about the division of labor. Uh, 8 to 9 years had passed, and the question was, what was the role of men, and what would be the role of women as far as the health. I think again, I think it's very much important, and it's not to diminish the value of women, but women taking care of the environment was taking care of the health.
Yeah.
And if health was kind of emphasized and what have you, I think something meaningful will grow out of the combined forces they needed to kind of propel the society forward.
Yeah.
That's my read. So it's not so first, and what she tried to do brought in the sentiments of Confucius. Confucius had always pointed out that peace has to begin from the home.
Yes.
If peace does not begin from the home, how can it spread abroad and bring a lot of people in? If cleanliness, if cleanliness does not begin from the home, if peace does not begin from the home, where else do you think it will be found? We said in sociology, for instance, that what? The family unit is a powerful unit. If the unit is not well groomed and what have you, so many things are going to happen. So I guess it's within that context, I would think that the role of women in maintaining a clean environment, the role of women in ensuring sanitation and what have you, had to be taken very seriously. Because at the end of it all, it is women that become the key, in a sense, become the key of society.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, but I enjoy
I,
her.
I,
I
I,
enjoy
I
her.
I hear you dragging your feet on that.
No,
Yes,
no, no, no.
that's
I
true.
enjoy her speech. I enjoy her
No,
speech
no,
for
that's when
the
I'm
time,
listening.
I mean, at the
Uh-huh.
beginning when she's talking about men and women working together for the time 1930 something, I was, you know,
Yes.
yeah. So, yeah. Well, Prof, we need to investigate some of the other orations.
Yeah.
It's just that Edward Blighty, his is too long.
But yeah,
The man can talk.
then we take it as one
Okay.
and then
Yes,
work on that because
we'll do that.
I know you were just kidding over there. Uh, uh, the approach we bring to each one of them uh, should never be determined by the length.
The length,
It
yeah.
has to be determined by the substance and what have you.
Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we'll continue with some of the orations,
Yeah.
because really, if you look at them, and like you when you said before, the tenor of the times,
Mhm.
they are blueprints. You can take these things out, like education.
Yeah.
Education runs through all of these
Yes.
orations. So you say,
Education.
okay, this is central.
Yes.
Agriculture is
Yes.
central.
Yes.
And things like that. The young people, they're
Hmm.
central. Things like
Yes.
that. So yeah.
The,
So
and you know, one of my dreams, I think we talk about that casually. One of my dreams is to create maybe a seminar course in the language department of the University of Liberia or any other uh, uh, college or university in Liberia there to have a serious seminar course in the literary culture of Liberia, a seminar in Liberian literary studies, where we explore uh, contextual documents, talking about diaries, talking about journals, talking about your speeches. We need those.
yeah,
We need those. If you look at American literature or even English literature, but let me not talk about regional. I'm just going to talk about, if you talk about the literature of a nation, we want to be able to explore those impactful documents.
yeah,
And if we can read some of or discuss some of those impactful documents uh, in a seminar course, whether we're talking about politics, we're talking about language and literature, we should be able to, tap into those to again explain the soul of the country.
yep. And we will continue to do so as we go on this literary expedition,
Yes,
literary journey
yes,
with other Liberians. Yeah.
yeah,
So we want to thank you guys for joining us
yeah,
today. I mean, Friday afternoon, a lot of people are out,
yeah,
but we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing this show.
yeah,
As we say, this is a journey, and we thank you for coming with us. Prof,
yeah.
what say you?
Well, again, we will continue to chime the need for people to always be excited about new information as well as the revisitation of old information. We need to be eager. In Liberia, we say we need to be agu for new knowledge, old knowledge, and all those things. We also need to be critical thinkers. We want to always ask the where, why, and wherefore of things. We need to do that. And we need to engage constantly in the appropriate conversation, in the appropriate dialoguing. We should never lose sight of the importance of certain things over the years and bringing all those pieces together. We should be able to understand why we need to, for instance, be proud of our country, be proud of the thinkers from that country, and be proud of the activists who tried as much as possible to ensure a social change in the country.
Okay, so we want to thank you again. We'll leave you with our closing song. We are all
Yes,
Liberians.
yes,
So, as always, as we say, let's continue to lift our country up.
yes,
Okay, good night. And see you next week, 6 o'clock.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, Prof.
Okay.
We all are Liberia. Liberia is our home.